comes to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I'm going to be completely honest. I thought it was an okay film. Definitely has a lot of great things about it, but I do have my criticisms. Starting off with the positives, it's great to see that even though this franchise has had a lot of replicas and somewhat modern variations since its inception, such as video games like Tomb Raider and Uncharted series, the video games. We also have in films, definitely a modern adaptation like the Uncharted film or Red Notice. I feel like when it comes to this film, they definitely do a better one, not only feeling original, but feeling as if it is part of the original trilogy itself. It has that feeling, which I don't think a lot of the modern variations do. They don't have that same feeling that Indiana Jones brings us. When it comes to the action scenes, again, I really enjoyed them. They're very good from the start of the film. I feel that, if anything, it does replicate the feeling of the original trilogy with the fight scenes, not only the effects, but the visual camera work as well. One of the most impressive things about this film is the de-aging, the CGI of Harrison Ford. In the very beginning, we get him in the 1940s, and honest to God, this scene looked amazing. The effects were so good, you actually would believe this was a deleted scene or a leftover scene from The Last Crusade. That's how good it looked. At least for me personally. Another great thing about this film is the antagonists. I feel they made them very dark and set up very well, from seeing how they're very quick to kill other people, showing that Indiana Jones has a lot of competition and these people really mean business. When it comes to the main antagonist, Mads Mikkelsen, I think he did an amazing performance. This character is very calm, collective. He's obviously been planning for quite some time, using his knowledge to help the Americans get to space, and we see that not only is he a very clever person because of what he did for NASA and all that, but he's also got the hugest of egos, as he plans to stop Hitler and change what Hitler did, as he believes that he could have done a better job or someone else could do a better job than Hitler. So that's quite a big egotistical thing for this character to have, and it's very interesting to see him try and pull that off. My favourite thing of this film is the beginning opening scene, as it's set in the early 40s, and you kind of feel like this is a direct sequel to The Last Crusade, and we're somewhat ignoring the events of Crystal Skull. And I just really enjoyed seeing a bit more of Indy's past and his willingness to do anything just to get an artifact from the Nazis. It was really interesting. So after the events of the 1940s, we see Indy in his present day, that being the 1960s. And I was very much hooked in seeing Indy in this era, seeing how he hasn't had the best of time since Crystal Skull. A lot has happened to him in quite a negative way. And also I feel like this film is somewhat different compared to the others, as instead of him going after a relic that he's never had in his possession, he's trying to go after a relic that was already in his possession, that was stolen. And the only reason he continues on this treasure hunt is because he doesn't want the Nazis to get it first. So it somewhat feels original, but at the same time it's very much like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, and to a lesser extent The Last Crusade, which I very much enjoyed. Now, sad to say, those are all the things that I enjoyed, and when it comes to criticisms, I have three. First of all, this is a criticism many might find odd, but bear with me. I felt like there were too many chase scenes, and the ones during the latter half felt very continuous, and if anything took away the surprise of the film. That's not to say there weren't any good chase scenes. I think like the beginning had three great chase scenes which I think elevates each other, but it's after those three they somewhat lack in elevation. They just feel more or less the same on a continuous loop, which, I don't know, it just really bored me to an extent. My second criticism is about Mads Mikkelsen, who I did think did a great job in this film, but what weirded me out to an extent is how we see him as quite confident in front of Indy, but when being chased by him, you could see a bit of panic in him. I thought that was a tad bit strange, as he came off as this quite confident character, and to be panicked by his mere presence of chasing him. It's a minor thing, but it definitely took me out of the film. My last criticism is about the third act. I'm not going to spoil the third act. What I'm going to say is I feel like they doubled down on the weirdness that Crystal Skull delivered. What ruined it for me is the fact that it just really takes you out of the film, and you're so baffled. It doesn't feel like an Indiana Jones film. I know that the films have dabbled in weirdness from the very start, with Raiders of the Lost Ark ending, Last Crusade to an extent, and Temple of Doom, but I feel like this one just really took the cake, and they do their best to somewhat take us out of it as we move towards the ending, but I feel like this scene was so impactful, for me not a good way, that it kind of ruins the ending. Now when it comes to the ending, it's okay, it's nothing to write home about. My personal joy out of it is the fact they didn't use it to set up a new franchise or to somewhat set up a sequel, which I now know that this is the last Indiana Jones film, or at least it is for Harrison Ford, so I'm happy to see that. Overall, I think the film started off really well, but during the second half you can start to see the cracks, and by the third act it became too weird for me, and my personal opinion, it was its downfall of the film itself. Comparing this film alone to other franchises that have ended on a fifth film, I'd actually say this one definitely takes the top spot, as it does feel like a passion project rather than a simple money grab, and it still has a lot of cool moments in it. Now, if I'm comparing this film with the other 4 Indiana Jones films, I think that is an argument for the 4th or 5th space, depending on how you felt. Overall, is it good? I'd say it's okay. Personally speaking, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Recommendations, I would obviously recommend the original trilogy and the 4th film as well. Harrison Ford recently amazed me with his comedic side in the TV show Shrinking. I feel like in each and every scene he appeared in, he was hysterical, but he also showed his A-game when it came to the dramatic or emotional moments as well. On to a film which I would say is somewhat similar is the film Time Bandits, about a bunch of time-travelling dwarves who use their ability to go into the past and steal valuable jewellery and artefacts. Definitely a very fun film, kind of in the same area as Indiana Jones, but obviously on the more stealing it for themselves, not stealing it for the public. It's fun. And then talking about video games that definitely got inspired by Indiana Jones, starting off with Tomb Raider. You could definitely see it, especially in the PS1 era or even the 2013 reboot. You could see the inspiration. I would definitely call her the female Indiana Jones, as she goes through quite a lot to collect these artifacts, and it's never for herself, it's always for museums and such. On the opposite side, I would say the Uncharted series, as I would say definitely like Indiana Jones with all the crazy obstacles he gets himself involved in, the near-death experiences, all for these artifacts. The only twist or difference I would say is he does not collect them for museums, he collects them for either himself or to sell for money. Definitely the opposite of Indiana Jones. Back to TV shows, Mads Mikkelsen did an amazing job in this, and I think he is a great actor, but to me he'll always be remembered as Hannibal Lecter in the TV show Hannibal. I think he is definitely up there doing a great performance with Hannibal. He is up there with Anthony Hopkins. And then last, I'm going to be recommending the films by the director James Mangold. I start off with the film Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic, but the recommendation most would know is the film Logan, the one he is most known for, as not only was that a great story, but I think visually it was amazing to witness as well. So those are my recommendations. This has been my review for the film Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If you have enjoyed, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you and have a nice day.